These files were never meant to be public, but someone reopened them. This is the Dark Bureau. In Brazil's heartland, there is no single face advertising the levers of influence. Instead, forces move quietly, radiating outward from inner circles and shaping destinies more through whispered suggestion than open declaration. This is power as a silent architect, laying foundations beneath the fabric of daily life, coursing just below the visible world of laws and ballots. The seeker's path, cloaked in spiritual language, often conceals more narrow ambitions, a way to guide business, marshal support, and redraw the boundaries of who gets to decide a region's fate. What compels so many to tie their future to a movement that preaches self-actualization and healing, yet maneuvers unseen to sway budgets and votes? The answer is not found in the sermons or the wellness retreats themselves, but in the vast engineered network threading through society's core. Presented to outsiders as an uplifting force for personal renewal, the Emerald Order wears the mask of benign spiritualism, meditation workshops, herbal infusions, motivational webinars. The narrative is one of wisdom and godliness, promising balance and prosperity to followers. But behind the calming tones and healing mantras, a machinery operates, more intricate than any doctrine. The Order's architecture is not simply ideological, it is technical, a distributed web coordinating resources, people, and information with an efficiency that most corporations would envy. Over years, communities have witnessed the blossoming of guided meditation classes in strip malls, the rise of lifestyle influencers touting detox cures, and the gentle tide of volunteers cleaning city parks. Few realised how these initiatives connected, forming a lattice of overlapping interests and reciprocal loyalty that reached far beyond any single congregation. The organisational structure is subtle, built to resist easy detection. The Order's public face might be a charismatic teacher or a benevolent collective of local chapter heads, but true direction emerges from a layered command system. Small cells operate semi-autonomously, holding events and recruiting members, while key choices filter downward from an inner council. Advisors whose own ranks are governed by years of service, proven loyalty, and a record of mobilizing resources. At every step, economic incentives entwine with spiritual milestones. Progress through the Order is measured not just by the absorption of new teachings, but by tangible outputs, seminar attendance, product sales, and critically, successful referrals that expand the network's base. An invisible economy grows within, with points, titles, and access privileges converting earnest participation into measurable advantage. The organisation's recurrent festivals and ranking ceremonies serve to reinforce the hierarchy, rewarding those who advance communal goals. Digital platforms are the Order's true nervous system. What appears as a supportive online community, encrypted chats, broadcast apps, moderated video lessons, doubles as a centralised apparatus for surveillance and coordination. Moderators monitor discourse to swiftly shut down dissent and reinforce official narratives, while participation is quantified and assessed by automated dashboards. Each member's social graph, attendance log, and financial record become tools for both motivation and discipline. Loyalty is not simply declared, it is tracked, validated, and at times enforced. Booster programs incentivize recruitment and investment, billing these commitments as gateways to advance wisdom or leadership opportunities. Private feeds and exclusive live streams are both carrot and stick, offered only to those whose engagement meets evolving standards. The sophistication of the system is its best camouflage. The Order's businesses, ranging from nutrition supplements and branded retreats to consulting agencies and holistic wellness centres, are deliberately arrayed to appear independent. Legally, each branch is registered separately, often under the stewardship of trusted lieutenants or shell boards, scattered across municipal jurisdictions. Profit flows are obfuscated by layers of contractor agreements and private equity pools. The fractal design serves two purposes. It shelters every node from collective liability and insulates the Central Council from direct accountability, making outsider scrutiny a near Sisyphean task. For regulators and investigators, the structure presents as robust yet impossible to pin down, a labyrinth where intent and ownership blur to the point of plausible deniability. Advancement within the order brings increasing exposure to high-level opportunity. Spiritual rank is inseparable from investment. Each coloured sash, each new title, not merely a mark of enlightenment, but an index of commitment, tracked in recurring donations, event production, and the cultivation of new revenue streams. The hierarchy is explicit about reciprocity. An individual's worth inside the circle is reflected as much by their ability to contribute to its economic expansion as by their vocal discipline or ritual observance. Those who excel find themselves on invited lists for invite-only summits, exposed to regional decision-makers, and fast-tracked for leadership training. Those who question too frequently or miss informal quotas risk being passed over, their status slipping in ways made evident by both digital dashboard and public ceremony. The integration of commerce, loyalty, and policy is what ultimately distinguishes the Emerald Order from a conventional sect. Periodically, well-being workshops and ecological volunteer drives shift focus, urging attendance at community council meetings and signalling preferred candidates in upcoming elections. In private channels, leaders discuss legislative proposals and fundraising targets. Voting instructions are circulated under the guise of alignment with the greater good, couched in spiritualized rhetoric. For many, the link between their prosperity in the Order's business ventures and the success of endorsed political causes becomes a given. Endorsement lists and donation rosters travel discreetly between chapters, updated to reflect changing landscapes. In this way, the network quietly establishes itself as a bloc to be courted or feared in local races, extending its reach into policy-making and budget allocations well beyond mere grassroots activism. For institutional watchdogs, signs of systemic interference accumulate slowly. Electoral observers note recurring upticks in campaign contributions clustered by region, donor overlap, and unusual address similarities. When a new political aspirant gains traction, social media campaigns blossom in tandem, amplifying their message with coordinated hashtags and sympathetic testimonials. But direct evidence proves elusive. The Order's ability to fragment financial flows and obfuscate command lines impedes conventional investigation. Local journalists probing the ties are met with feigned ignorance by front-facing leaders, and often face a wall of defamation suits wielded by a cadre of litigious attorneys adept at exploiting Brazil's privacy statutes. Some whistleblowers who attempt to go public find themselves ostracized from business networks, subjected to online smear attacks, or targeted by social shunning that erases both professional and personal support systems. Despite, or perhaps because of, such resilience, the cracks eventually widen. Systematic efforts by electoral auditors and anti-corruption authorities begin piecing together enough anomalies to raise alarms. Spikes in donations, coupled with alignments between business affiliates and campaign volunteers, paint a portrait of deliberate coordination. Subtle cues accumulate in the public record. Meeting minutes from neighbourhood fundraisers reference party agendas, while promotional flyers for Order-branded wellness events carry coded endorsements. The Order's communication lattice, built to maximise reach while minimising traceability, begins to show seams under the pressure of forensic scrutiny. Investigative journalists, working with digital security experts, reconstruct fragments, deleted chat logs, intercepted payment requests, and alternate identities used to layer transactions. Through painstaking analysis, a schema emerges, not just a group with opinions, but an orchestrated apparatus with playbooks for manipulating local politics. The catalyst for exposure arrives in the form of a massive document drop, surreptitiously delivered to a major Brazilian daily. Inside are internal communiques, draft policy white papers, coaching scripts assigning quotas for political rallies, annotated canvassing rosters, and most tellingly, relationship maps linking charismatic leaders to a constellation of shell enterprises. Membership ledgers show cross-referenced entries, spiritual achievement tallies next to donation records, next to attendance at political strategy sessions. The orders reach into municipal government is now irrefutable. As the news spreads, regional officials scramble for damage control. Some protest their innocence at press conferences, while others quietly delete social media accounts and resign from shadowy board positions. The daylighting of this machinery leaves no plausible path for deniability. The immediate institutional response is both chaotic and sobering. Prosecutors open inquiries into campaign finance violations and improper lobbying, armed with the evidence that the order's influence systematically breached legislative boundaries. The Federal Elections Tribunal freezes several suspected shell business accounts and launches audits of linked charities. At the municipal level, voting regulations are debated in emergency session. New anti-cult ordinances and religious funding transparency laws are hurried onto the floor. For the order itself, the nights are long. Businesses vanish nearly overnight. Wellness centres rebrand, their signage replaced, and websites scrubbed of original affiliations. Network moderators shut down channels, delete archives, and instruct loyalists to migrate to encrypted secondary apps. But not all traces can be expunged. Digital forensics recover deleted materials, and the legal spotlight remains. Former members, emboldened by the newly emboldened press, come forward with detailed testimony. Some recount years of escalating financial exposure, buy-ins for dubious coaching seminars, pressure to purchase and hawk overpriced supplements, losses rivaling their entire savings. Others speak to the manipulation of relationships, the conditioning of loyalty through public shaming and symbolic rewards. Clinical psychologists called by inquiry panels testify to patterns of coercive persuasion and emotional harm, not unlike more traditional cults. As the testimonies stack up, parallels emerge between the order's methods and case studies of similar groups across the globe. Weaponized group psychology, economic dependency, and social entrapment, all underpinned by a facade of benevolence. Structurally, the Emerald Order's case influences national debates on freedom of assembly and religious exemption. Legislators, realising gaps in oversight of spiritual enterprises, push for registries, annual external audits, and clear separation of faith-based revenue and political campaigning. Civil society organisations launch nationwide seminars on digital literacy and organisational transparency. At the same time, legal experts caution that distributed networks learn quickly. The sudden collapse of a single model does little to extinguish the underlying incentives. Indeed, some members splinter off to develop quieter, smaller networks, adapting best practices to better shield them from scrutiny. In the long aftermath, communities grapple with how to balance openness to new religious and wellness movements with the imperative for transparency and institutional hygiene. Workshops on cult dynamics and covert influence proliferate. Town halls fill with contentious debates about the nature of belief, trust, and the responsibilities of civil society to safeguard democratic institutions. Meanwhile, survivors of the order face lasting wounds. Some recover, others remain isolated, their sense of trust in both community and self permanently altered. Publicly, The Emerald Order's current representatives deny any wrongdoing, insisting they are targets of reactionary fear and emphasising documented charitable work. Media cycles move on, but the story echoes. Wherever charismatic movements blend financial engines and political ambition, oversight must be vigilant. Systems like the Order do not yield easily. When exposed, they fragment, recede, or reappear in changed form. The real legacy is not found in doctrinal impact, but in the contours of hidden influence, how modern power adapts, evolving quietly, always just out of sight and always waiting for the next opportunity to resurface.